Hi, welcome to day one. Hopefully you enjoyed the video from yesterday and hopefully you're ready to get engaged and learn. So in day one, we're going to talk about finding a studio, finding a class, selecting the right place for you to begin your yoga journey. And maybe some of you have already started your yoga journey and you haven't quite felt connected to anything yet. So hopefully this helps. And we're also going to talk today about hot versus not, right? So I get asked a ton, like, is hot yoga really good for you? Like, should you be going to hot yoga? And so I think there's a place for hot yoga, certainly. Do I think it's for everybody? No. And I don't think every class is for everybody either. So it's really important to find the right spot for you in the yoga community. So let's talk about hot versus not first. So there's many types of hot yoga. There's hot power type yoga places where it's about 95 degrees. It's really hot. They usually pump humidity in. And in general, I think it's safe as long as you don't have high blood pressure, right? So it's not great for people with high blood pressure. So you should know that going in. If you have high blood pressure and your doctor says it's okay, then great, try hot yoga. What you need to remember with hot yoga is you get loose pretty fast. And you need to understand what's going on inside your body, right? So you need to really listen because you can push yourself too far and strain muscles and hurt yourself. So that's really the only challenge I see with hot yoga. I personally love it, especially in the winter in Michigan. I like to be warm going in. There's other types of hot yoga, specifically one called Bikram. It's a little bit hotter. They're very specific studios, so they'll be advertised as Bikram yoga, and it's about 105 with 50% humidity. And it's really, really hot, and it's a style of yoga that really challenges you to push yourself. So be really ready for that if you're going to head into one of those classes. I don't suggest it for beginners. In fact, in general, I would say unless the hot yoga studio that you're going to has a beginner's class advertised, I wouldn't go to a hot yoga class for your very first time. Now, I do think there's a place for heat in a yoga class. So I teach hot yoga as well as what they call regular yoga. I teach, for instance, on a Sunday morning, and it's chilly. And so we'll have the heat set at about 68, 70, and it gets warm in there. And I think people get a little bit sweaty. They're warm by the end of the class, but it's certainly not overwhelming heat. I also teach at the gyms, at the club, and it's a little bit cooler. So we have to work a little harder to build heat inside of our bodies because we want to be safe when we get into some of our longer holding stretches. So you do want to be able to build heat. I certainly wouldn't recommend doing yoga at a place where they're pumping air conditioning in and it's cold. So that's kind of my take on hot versus not. So I would love to take questions and let's have a little dialogue about it in the group today and through the week. So let's talk about places. So I just mentioned that I teach in studios and I teach at the gym. I also teach on site at hospitals. So I call that conference room yoga, right? So we don't have a studio that we're teaching at the hospital, but we're literally teaching in where meetings are held during the day. And I think that there's a place for yoga, and I think that people can love yoga in any of those spaces as long as the teacher's doing their job at making it a comfortable place to be. So studios are definitely different than, let's say, conference room or gym yoga. They usually have they have a serene atmosphere. Some have a high energy atmosphere. It just depends on the place. And they're focused on yoga for the most part. So you're going to get huge variety in the types of classes. You're going to have beginner. You're going to be able to take some higher level classes. So that's what studios are great for. Gyms, on the other hand, sometimes will have levels of yoga, right? So read the descriptions. You should at the studio anyways, as well. I know the gym that I teach at currently, it's just yoga on the schedule. And so depending on the teacher will depend on the yoga class, right? So we'll talk about teachers in a second. Picking out a place. So if you're not a member of a gym and you're like, I think I want to try a studio, near my house, and you've got a couple to pick from, I personally think that if you could stop by and visit the studio, you can kind of get a vibe from the place. And if you feel like it's a great vibe for you, then that's probably the place you should start. I know personally, over my years of practicing, I've been to places where it just doesn't feel like me. And so I've taken a class there, and sure enough, I realized that it's not the place for me to practice yoga. It's a perfectly fine place. It's just not for me. And I would say that in general about classes too, right? Not every class is for everybody, right? You have to find the ones that work for you. So let's talk a little bit about picking out classes. So if you're going to attend a studio, they usually have class descriptions online, or you can walk into the studio and actually talk to somebody. So start to read through the class descriptions. If you're brand new to yoga, definitely get to anything that's got a beginner or basics in it. They're going to be much more in tune to you as a beginner student and not do crazy things, headstands, handstands. They're not going to be throwing out these wild things that might turn you off in your first couple of classes. You also want to ensure that the class that you're going to excites you, right? You want to like look at it and say, that's a class that I would like to attend and go to. There's all types of yoga, right? So read the class descriptions and understand what class it is you're walking into. So I'll use the studio that I teach at, for example. They have a wide variety of yoga. We have hot yoga. We have not hot yoga. We have yin yoga. We have Ashtanga yoga. We have vinyasa. We have sweet vinyasa. We have slow flow. We have hatha, right? And these are all terms that may completely intimidate you if you're looking at the class description. So ask questions, right? If you've got a studio that you're looking at right now and thinking about attending, certainly start to ask questions to me. I will try to help find the best fit for you. Just to kind of run down some of those terms for you. Vinyasa, you'll hear that a lot. Vinyasa classes are all about linking breath and movement. Now, some vinyasa classes move literally one breath, one movement. So they're a little quicker paced. I teach regular vinyasa classes, so they move. I also teach a class called slow flow. So it's still vinyasa style, linking breath and movement, but it's slow. We may spend more time in poses. We may break things down, and we just, in general, slow it down. Hatha means breath, right? There's a lot of focus on breath, so which is awesome work, and you can explore with taking those kinds of classes and really learning about yoga breathing and all the different kinds of breath. There's bajillions of types of breaths that go with yoga. There's a yin. So think of yin and yang. Yin is the slow, the calming, the restorative type yoga. You spend minutes in poses versus breaths in poses. You spend some significant time, and it's fantastic, right? But you got to be ready for it. Anything with power yoga, there's some other types of yoga like Baptiste that go with that. It's a very power yoga. It's very athletic, right? And that's actually how I found yoga. The class I found at the gym in 1999 was really athletic. And so it appealed to me simply for the physical part of it, right? And then I learned about the breath and the meditative part of yoga and really kind of disconnecting. So it's a journey, right? So try to find the place and then find the class that suits you. Now, one last thing, if you're actually, if your place of employment offers yoga on site, so I do that at the hospitals here locally, that's really going to be a connection with the teacher and being part of the community in the class, because you're going to get pretty much the same style of yoga because it's going to be the same teacher or a couple of teachers coming in. So if you feel a connection to the teacher, right, give it a couple times, and then you may find that you really enjoy it, and it's a really awesome benefit that your employer is offering classes on site. One last topic, so privates. A lot of studios and a lot of teachers offer privates, and some of you may have taken privates or are taking privates right now. Amazing. If you can afford it and you can do it and you can take a couple privates before you step into a studio, that's awesome. You'll get to really break down and learn the fundamentals of poses. So when you hear them in a class and you might not spend as much time on them, you can get there quickly and not be frustrated. So privates are amazing. If you can afford them and you have the time for them, they're definitely worth it. So that's kind of my take on picking out classes and picking out a studio that works for you. Again, let's get the dialogue going here in our group. And again, I'm happy to help you if you're in this place of trying to pick the best place to practice or start your yoga journey. I'm here to help. So definitely post comments or reach out to me via email, and I will do my best to get you connected to the right place. Have a great day.